let this tragedy be a warning sign so it can have a positive outcome in that this never happens again. You might have missed the story because it was only a blip on my news feed the other day, and then it was buried under more interesting and newer news. The initial story certainly got plenty of publicity because not only was it a horrific motorcycle accident, but the victims of the crash were also former U.S. Marines and part of the Jarhead's MC. Let's remember that most news media outlets are for-profit businesses, meaning that they are selling advertising space and or time, and so they're going to run the stories that have the most clicks, the most draw, the most attention. I guess this wasn't one of them. The particular bit of news that I'm talking about took place over 3 years ago, the horrific crash that happened on June 21st, 2019, near the town of Randolph, New Hampshire. From a group of 15 motorcyclists, 5 riders and 2 passengers were killed and several others were injured when a Dodge pickup truck towing a flatbed trailer plowed into them on US Route 2. That was just 15 miles north from where I was vacationing in New Hampshire. Albert Woody Mazza, the president of the Jarheads Motorcycle Club, as well as the leader of the group ride, and 6 other motorcyclists who died were from New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, and ranged in ages between 42 and 62. They were part of a larger group that had left from the hotel and were on their way to the local American Legion group for a fundraiser. That accident was certainly on my mind as I was riding along the New Hampshire countryside. Actually, every time I get on a motorcycle, I am reminded of exactly how vulnerable I am. According to statistics in 2020, bikers are 28 more times likely to be killed in a vehicular accident than drivers of passenger cars and trucks. Motorcycling must be taken seriously. Although the rewards that come from motorcycling, those are so much more than the risks. Which is why I said, after hearing about the news of the crash, at least they went out doing what they love. Growing up in the 80s and 90s in San Francisco, I had a few friends who had slow, painful deaths because their bodies wasted away from HIV/AIDS. They weren't able to do what they love at the end. And I know I prefer to do what I love, prefer to be doing something that I love when that time comes for me. That being said, I was shocked. In my mind, these were seasoned, experienced riders who knew how to mitigate the risks of riding a motorcycle. And I figured the driver of the truck, who was 23 at the time and had been arrested for a DUI the month before, and who had also admitted to using drugs, using fentanyl, heroin, and cocaine the morning of the accident, I'm sure that he must have been out of his mind high and hauling ass. So when I saw the headline that the driver of the pickup truck had been found not guilty of negligent homicide and manslaughter, I was shocked. How could this happen? What in the world was the judge and jury thinking? Was it because they were bikers and therefore not taken seriously? Before we get into that, let me ask you this. What do you think? Had you heard of the news before? And if so, did you read just the headline or did you read the whole story? If you hadn't heard the news, what do you think about it now? Whether or not you heard the news, what are your thoughts about being under the influence and riding and or driving a vehicle? How long should you wait before getting behind the wheel of a car or throwing a leg over a bike? This is something to consider because there are more and more states out there that have legalized the use of marijuana. Not that it's only marijuana use that we're talking about. I'm saying alcohol, cocaine, meth, prescription drugs, etc. Anything that can put you under the influence and impair your ability to react and make good decisions. Hell, even over-the-counter allergy meds can make you drowsy. So, last question, I promise. How do you make the call that you're okay to ride or drive? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. A quick shout out to David from San Diego who contacted me and asked me about my heritage. I'm always interested to hear what you've got to say about motorcycling, your motorcycle adventures, Harley, you name it. And I'm happy to help if you want to ask a question or two. You can reach me through my social media other than YouTube. Obviously, there's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even WhatsApp through my Facebook page. Just search Irish Bob's Sister. Of course, the best way to reach out to me is through my website, irishbobsister.com. There you can contact me, read more in my blog, and even hire me as your life coach. I'd love to work with you to help you accomplish your goals and challenges. You can even take me for a test ride. Sign up for a 30-minute free trial. But for now, back to the news and how they came up with that not guilty verdict. First, the obvious. The kid who was driving the pickup truck and trailer, Vladimir Zhukovsky, shouldn't have even been there. He was charged in Connecticut with a DUI a few weeks prior to this accident, and that should have meant that his Massachusetts driver's license would have been automatically suspended. It wasn't. The company that hired Zhukovsky 2 days prior to the accident should have pulled his driving record. They didn't. Since then, the director of the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles has resigned, and more than 800 Massachusetts drivers have had their licenses suspended as officials continue to discover notifications of serious out-of-state driving violations that had not been acted upon. Westfield Transport has also gone out of business as a result of paying settlements to the victims and their families. But still, not guilty? How? Ultimately, it came down to two things. Number one, no one could prove, one way or the other, who crossed over the center line first. This is a rural part of the country, so no traffic cameras recorded the accident, and witnesses gave conflicting accounts, obviously traumatized from the wreck. Without that key piece of evidence, it became hard to prove Zhukovsky crossed the center line first, thereby causing the accident. Plus, even though he had admitted to using drugs the morning of the accident, at the time of the wreck, Zhukovsky was no longer under the influence, which is why the judge had dismissed 8 charges of driving while under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And number 2, accident scene investigators discovered that the leader of the ride, Woody Mazza, had a BAC of 0.135, which is above nearly every state's legal limit of 0.08. Guessing that Woody's weight was around 200 pounds, that's 8 or 9 beers, and obviously too many to have been riding. So he too should never have been there. Back in June, I posted this video about how to lead a group ride. I'll put a link to that here, down below, and at the end of this video. The tips I gave there were pretty straightforward. Talking to others in the group, the speed you'll be going, how to keep the group together, the importance of the sweep rider, and the reasons why I love to lead a ride. I did not state the obvious in that video because it's something I know that you know already. Although I'm going to say it again here and now. Never ever do drugs and or drink alcohol and then ride or drive. Please. By no means am I saying that you cannot party with your friends. And I've done stupid stuff too. My last time I knew I was drunk, legally drunk, but thought I was still okay to drive. I got in my truck and luckily all the way home, which was about 30 miles at the time, there was either a local police, county sheriff, or state trooper behind me most of the way home. My hands were at 10 and 2, my cruise control set, and I was freaking out. I got home and I swore I'd never do it again, and I haven't. So now I only party when I know that I've made it home or I'm at my destination and my kickstand is down for the night. While it's true that how much you can drink and still be okay to operate a motor vehicle varies by your age, gender, weight, physical condition, what you've had to eat, how tired you are, and what, if any, medications you're on. But ask any attorney how many drinks you can have and still be okay to ride or drive, and their answer will always be the same: 0. I've heard it from quite a few people that I know. I know when I've had too much. I'm fine. But here's the thing, and it's been proven time and time again. Alcohol impairs your judgment from the very first sip. So, if you're no longer a good judge, how can you judge yourself and say that you're okay to ride or drive? You can't. And I'm not saying that Woody is responsible for the accident. Josh Warren, who was riding directly behind Mazza and who is also a registered nurse, said Mazza did not appear to be impaired and testified to that in court. But again, the prosecution could not prove that Zukowski swerved into the path of the bikers, whereas the defense attorney could provide reasonable doubt with Woody's BAC. Bottom line, this is a tragic accident that should not have happened on 4 different levels. Woody by not riding, Zukowski by not driving, Westfield Transport by pulling the driving record, and the MRMV by suspending the license. I'll ask again, how do you make the determination that you're okay to ride or drive? It comes down to just one thing in this situation. You. You are going to have to be your own best judge when it comes to how much you can partake and still be all right to ride or drive. And I certainly hope that you came to the same conclusion that I have, which is none and nothing. Please, for the love of all that is on this great green earth, let this tragedy be a warning sign so it can have a positive outcome in that this never happens again. To that end, please share this video with anyone that you think needs to see it. That is it for this week, folks. If you won't be riding or driving while impaired, please go ahead and give me that thumbs up. If you want to see more videos about motorcycling adventure tips and tricks, please hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when I upload new content, then be sure to click that bell. Until next time, guys, please stay safe, be kind to one another, ride when you can, and have fun. And if you're going to have lots of fun and partake, then make sure those kickstands are down for the night.